So then as people, you get pretty good at attempting the impossible. You try to control the conditions so that you can feel better. And we want you to leave this gathering with this new freedom flowing through you, with a new lilt in your step and lightness in your heart and smile on your face and twinkle in your eyes. We want you to return to the knowledge that not one other person on the planet or not one other circumstance on the planet has to change at all in order for you to get in the vortex. And when you get that your singular job now, you see, life has inspired you to put things in that vortex. You have put enough there to keep you busy for 20 or 30 lifetimes. You don't need to keep seeking out more contrast in order to expand. You've expanded way beyond anything you planned for this one lifetime. We're not kidding you. You have done your step one. You will probably continue to do step one, but you have done step one. Step two has been done too. The amassing, the assimilating, the bringing together, the culminating, the lining up of circumstances and events. It's done too. It's done, 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 it's done. If you would let 100% of your attention and emphasis be, for the rest of the days of your life, get in the vortex, get in the vortex, get in the vortex. In other words, nothing matters other than the way I feel. And the way I feel is dependent upon the thoughts I think. And I can think my way into closer and closer proximity of the vortex. If I'm doubtful, I can be wishful, and wishful is better than doubtful. If I'm wishful, I can be hopeful, and hopeful is better than wishful. If I'm knowing or believing, that's better than hoping. In other words, you can train yourself bit by bit into the vortex, into the vortex, into the vortex. You have to do the work to bring yourself into the releasing of resistance and into the raising of allowance. In other words, nothing is more important than that you feel good. Nothing is more important than that you talk yourself in to feeling good. Jerry and Esther have been laughing about it recently because something happened that was very upsetting to Esther. And it was a big thing to her, something that she'd been working on for several weeks, and there was a particular moment of culmination, and she was so looking forward to it, and something broke down and it didn't happen. And Esther could not get her attention off the fact that something that she wanted didn't happen. And the deadline had come and gone, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And the feeling of powerlessness was so supreme because something that should have happened didn't happen, and now it was too late. It didn't happen. There was no excuse. There was no good excuse for it not to have happened. Not one good excuse. Oh, plenty of excuses, but not one good enough. Not one good enough to compensate for the level of disappointment that she was feeling. What entrapment that is. That's like saying, I feel terrible and nothing can ever be done about it because the time has passed. And we say, why would you ever put yourself in that kind of a vice? And so she writhed there for an hour or so, and Jerry did his best to escape. And he wasn't feeling it as Esther was because he had not been invested in the outcome. It was not his creation. It wasn't something that he had been working on. But after a little while, Esther sort of came to her senses, as you all usually do. Sometimes you have to wait till you croak to do it. Because the discomfort of the discord was not worth the price that she was paying. And that's really what we want you to come to sooner. We want you to become so picky about the way you feel that you are not willing to use anything in the world as your excuse to hold yourself outside the vortex. And we want to talk, and we will today as we're visiting with you. What is it that causes you to be willing to do that? And we think it's a bunch of flawed premises that you've picked up along your physical trail. You actually believe that your unhappiness will get you to where you want to be, and that is a flawed premise of all flawed premises. You sometimes believe that in your disappointment or disapproval of the behavior of others, that if you show your disapproval in a strong enough way, it will cause them to have a behavioral transformation. That's a flawed premise. There are so many flawed premises, and we could sum them all up with one phrase that we want you to remember forever. You can't get there from there. You just can't get there from there. And the there that we're talking about, and the there that we're talking about, the there and the there that we're talking about, you can't get there from there. The there's that we're talking about are vibrational places. In other words, from a vibrational place of disappointment, you cannot get to a place of satisfaction. You can't get there from there. You have to take an emotional journey before the manifestation can shape up for you. So that's the basis of this leading edge conversation that we're having. We want you to feel the leading edgeness of this conversation, and we want you to expect that emotionally and vibrationally through the day as we chew together, that we will move to a new place vibrationally. We want you to imagine this vibrational reality that we are describing, because it is vivid and real. And we want you to, through this day, on the subjects that are important to you, try to get a sense of where you stand in your normal day-to-day vibrational offering in relationship to that vortex. In other words, this is going to be a gap closing day. This is going to be a day of consciously moving into the vortex on the subjects that are important to you. And the important thing to realize is, once you move into the vortex, it doesn't matter if you pop out and move in and pop out and move in. If you are determined to become a vibrational match to who you really are, which must be your determination, because it is the only place that you will ever find joy. If you are determined to fixate on that vortex and find reasons to get into it, in other words, to become a vibrational match to the expanded being, to the expanded experience that you have been asking for, as you focus there and you get in deliberately by trying and making, by making an effort and feeling the resolution of it, then you will stand in a place of such empowerment, because then you will be able to easily move between step 1 and step 3, step 1 and step 3, step 1 and step 3. Step 1 happens all day, every day. Step 3, you have to work for.